Running experiment campaigns within Google Ads is very important, and for two reasons mainly. Number one reason, you have a time constraint. So you cannot, for example, make a small change to a certain area of your campaign. For example, you may try out different bidding strategies and wait for, let's say, a week or 10 days for Google to show you enough data for you to be able to compare both the versions of your campaign. So, if you're short of time and if you want to experiment with different options, different settings in a more efficient and faster manner. The normal way of setting a campaign up and doing those tweaks and waiting for a week or so is not going to be very effective. So for that reason, you may want to set up an experiment campaign that runs in parallel with the actual campaign. And by the end of, let's say, the experiment campaign period, you would be in a position to compare both the versions of the same campaign and see which one performs better. The second reason is Google Ads is a very complex platform, right? And you have a lot of different options, different settings available at the account, campaign, ad group, ads, and keywords level. So it's not possible that you could be within a short or within a given time frame, you would be able to do all those different changes or split testings around different options that are available. For example, if you want to change the bidding strategy, there are multiple bidding strategies available, right? So now you can, from a testing standpoint, you can just switch to a bidding strategy for one day and change it back to something else the other day. It doesn't, that's not how it works. So you have to wait for it to kind of get some momentum, collect some data, and kind of adjust with your new settings, right? So that is again not possible when you have so many options to experiment with at different levels. It makes it all the more convoluted and complex for you to apply those different A/B testings at the actual campaign or to the actual campaign. So in that cases, you may want to come up with different experiment campaigns for you to be able to see if by making certain changes to certain area can have a positive impact on your campaign. And by the end of the experiment campaigns period, if the changes are generating or helping you generating better results, you might want to implement those changes to your actual campaign. In this video, I'm going to just quickly show you how you can create experiment campaigns and how that is going to be beneficial as far as optimization or optimizing your existing campaigns is concerned. So first of all, you have to select the campaign. I mean, you have to have the campaign in mind that you want to run the experiment campaign in parallel with. So for example, if you want to apply the experiment campaign to this one, what you are going to have to do is split the budget of this campaign with the experiment campaign that you want to run, right? So their option can be selected after you have created your first experiment campaign. To create an experiment campaign, you have to go to the draft and experiment section that's available right at the bottom of this menu panel, right? You have to create a draft campaign first of all, right? So you will create a draft campaign, and then you will be able to create an experiment campaign from that draft campaign. So click on the draft campaign, click on new, select the campaign to which you want to apply this new experiment campaign. In this case, let's say we want to apply this to this campaign. right? And give it, let's say, a demo experiment. It's optional. If you want to say something in the description, you can do that. Otherwise, okay, just save it. We have created our first draft campaign, experiment campaign in the draft form. Now we are going to have to go ahead and apply that campaign for us to be able to, make this campaign live. But before we go ahead and apply the new experiment campaign, of course, the whole point of creating an experiment campaign is to do some changes, right? So for example, this one is running on a CPA strategy, target CPA. So let's say we want to go ahead and change the CPA level of this experiment campaign from whatever it is to something else, right? So let's say the target CPA for this existing current campaign is 200. You want to bring it down to 150 to see if that's going to make a positive impact on the ROI, right, or the target CPA. So if it's giving us leads per lead, if it's costing us 200 per lead, now let's say by reducing it to 150 may decrease the cost per lead as well. So we want to test it, we want to experiment with it, and we are going to make the changes here and save it. And if there are any other changes that we want to make along with this tweak, we can do that as well. So for example, I may go to the locations and do some bit adjustments at the location level, right? So different cities. Right now, there are no data available for the cities. So when you target specific cities, you will have data available. And once you do, you can do those bit adjustments for each cities. But if you want to make, for example, changes to the audience, maybe adjust the bits for certain types of audiences, you can do that. Again, first of all, you will have to add an audience. So let's say for the experiment campaign, we are going to add some audience, right? Based on how they are interacting with our website or business. We are going to add some audiences here, and we are going to do some bit adjustments. So we say, the people who have visited our website in the past should be able to see our ads as a priority, right? So we want to retarget those users, and we want to say that if any of these people are searching for the keywords that we are targeting within our ad groups, they should preferably be able to see our ads first. Or more of our advertising budget should be channeled to these types of people. So we want to increase the bits for these types of audiences a little bit, maybe 10% or 15%. So, all these changes are we are making to the experiment campaign to see if we are going to get any positive impact, or if we are able to boost the performance of our campaign by making these specific changes. So let's say we did make these a few changes, and in terms of devices, let's say we want to adjust the bits for the devices. We want to increase the bits for the computers by 15%, and maybe our website is not performing well for the mobile users, so we want to decrease it a little bit, and that's it. Now we are ready to go run our experiment campaign. All we have to do is go ahead and apply, and we can run it as an experiment. At this point in time, there's no reason why we should implement these changes that we just made to the original campaign, because we haven't run any experiment yet. So first of all, we have to run an experiment, see how the experiment campaign performs in comparison with the actual campaign. And then if we are satisfied with the changes we made to the experiment campaign are actually working to our advantage, then we can go ahead and either apply those changes to the original campaign, or we can, get this new experiment campaign as a new campaign instead of experiment one, right? So let's give it a name, experiment campaign, right? Test. That's it. Okay, and we are gonna have to choose the start date. We can choose date, and we can choose the end date. If we don't want to choose any end date, we don't have to. Otherwise, we can, let's say, up until 8 February, and we have to choose the experiment campaign budget, right? So how do we want to split the budget between this new experiment campaign and the original campaign? So I want to say that, experiment campaign should have a share of 30%. And that's it. If you click on the advanced options, there are two options, but preferably, you can go with the default one. It's better. The simple difference is when you click on the search based option, Google is going to show both your experiment campaign as well as your original campaign's ads to potential users, right? But if you click on the cookie base, Google is only going to show the ad to it's only going to show one version of your ad to a users at one time, right? So simultaneously, both your original campaign's ad and as well as your experiment campaigns ads are not going to be shown to a certain user if you're choosing this option. But if you're going to stick with this one, Google may simultaneously show both the versions of your ads to the same user at the same time. So let's save this. You can only run one experiment at a time. Try adjusting the dates. Let's say I don't know, we have another experiment campaign going. So let's say we want to change the start date, let's say from May, just so that we can complete this process, right? Still giving us an error. Oh, sorry, the start date should be, let's say, March, and the end date should be, let's say, this. Okay. Right, so we created our experiment campaign. Now it's gonna have to run for a while. Let's say we'll wait for a week or 10 days, and then we will compare the data. And then we will, if we want to run it as an actual campaign, we can do that, right? But right now, if we refresh our browser, we should be able to see that experiment campaign, right? It's here. And now we can, we see that this campaign is running, and we are going to see data, in this section, and we are comparing the performance. We are monitoring data, and after it, if it runs its course, if we want to apply this, we can apply it to our existing campaign, or we can convert it to a new campaign, give it a name, and it will start running from then on. But if you want to cancel it and end this experiment campaign, we can go ahead and click on this cancel, and it's gonna cancel this experiment campaign if we are not satisfied with the results after making these changes.